Remember this disgraceful moment in our nation's history when the Victorian Labor government arrested a pregnant woman in front of her family for a post on social media during the COVID lockdowns?
At 3 o'clock this afternoon, 4 detectives storm into a home.
Now, you're under arrest in relation to incitement.
Incitement?
A young mother, still in her pyjamas, is cuffed.
What on earth? Excuse me, what on earth?
Slapped with a search warrant in front of her partner and young children.
I had an ultrasound in an hour.
Yeah, she's pregnant.
But Ballarat detectives were determined to question Zoe Bueller after the 28-year-old allegedly created this Freedom Day Facebook event, asking her friends to remember the 5th of September.
I wasn't breaking any laws by doing that.
You are breaking law. That's why I'm arresting you in relation to incitement.
How can you arrest her? That's...
In front of my 2 children.
Can't you just say to her, take the post down? Like, come
I'm
on.
happy to delete the post. This is ridiculous.
That's right. Any device in this house we're taking.
This is ridiculous.
You're not taking my phone.
Well,
I'm taking any device, mate.
That's my phone. It's nothing to do with her. It's my phone.
Disgusting and infuriating stuff. It still makes my blood boil 4 years later to think that this happened in the country I used to believe was the freest and fairest place on earth. Zoe had to live for 2 years with the threat of jail time hanging over her head, while the incompetents in the Victorian criminal justice system bumbled around trying to work out what they were going to do and fumbled their way to letting her have her day in court. The process is the punishment in Australia's wonky legal system, it seems.
Zoe Bueller's worst outcome was possible jail time. Instead, she no longer has a case to answer. Victoria Police ending a 2-year prosecution on a charge of incitement.
I think a strong message I have is that I definitely have no regrets. I'm glad I stood up for people's human rights and freedoms.
Who gets charged is not a matter for the Premier. It's a matter for Victoria Police.
I guess my message for Dan Andrews would be that I hope one day you'll have your day in court.
So far, we haven't seen too many laws attempting to restrict our speech or freedom of expression in public or online in Australia actually getting up yet, or being enforced yet. Although there was a lot of police harassment of journalists covering protests under Melbourne's authoritarian Labor government during COVID, and a few unwelcome visits to independent journalists' homes at the wee hours of the morning. Topher Field, Avi Yemeni and real Rukshan Fernando all got lovely little knocks on the door from the cops, and Topher even got taken away. But it's not the same in the UK, where people do get arrested all the time for comments on social media. And this happened this week.
Times 20 to 3, 1440, arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the Electronic Communications Network under
What?
127 of the Communications Act, okay? So you do not have to say anything that may harm your defence if you don't mention one question, something which you later rely on court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being
You're
arrested?
going to be arrested, okay?
Right,
Take
and
you up to the police station.
Right.
Okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay.
oh really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Facebook crime. Rightio. That's what we do now in the Western world, apparently. We arrest people for stuff that they write on social media. Are we okay with all of this? I mean, I don't recall much public debate about any of this. It just kind of started, didn't it? But this is what we do now. And don't you love how nice and polite the Stasi are before they deny you your civil liberties and freedom and come into your home and cart you away? So well-mannered and well-trained. The smiling assassin, I think, is the term for it. She talks like she's hosting play school. Now, boys and girls, we're going to take you down to the police station, pop you in our little chair that's plugged into the wall and zap you with electricity until you die, okay? Sound like fun? Let's go then. Seriously, folks, this is sick. And the female play school host always has to have a happy male co-host.
Anyone who's been arrested, we can search them under Section 32 of the Police and Evidence Act.
Right.
And that's for dangerous items.
Yeah, no, sorry, mate. I get a little nervous when a guy starts telling me he wants to search me while putting rubber gloves on. That's not going to be happening, I'm afraid, no matter how smiley or friendly you might appear to be.
You said I was going to be arrested under some what information? I'm going to be arrested for posting on Facebook.
Some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made a complaint about that, and it's
And can you tell me what this comment was?
We'll do
Okay,
that
well,
all
we'll
in
do
an
that when
interview.
we interview.
All right. And so, what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Sorry, but this is as creepy as. We don't know who this guy was or what it was that he posted, but the implication is that this was a political comment that he made related to the riots. We'll try to find out more and let you know. But Prime Minister Keir Starmer did make it clear that there'd be arrests for online comment encouraging people to riot. So I guess that comes under incitement to violence laws. But the offence being taken stuff really is a bit troubling. It's a slippery slope once you start policing speech. The thing is this, bureaucrats in the UK will look at that and think it's no big deal. It has no effect. We can get away with going into people's homes and arresting them for nothing, while at the same time not arresting people for more serious actions. What they're now calling two-tier policing. But then you get riots like we're seeing now in the UK, and the same bureaucrats look befuddled. Oh, gee, why are these white thugs so angry and violent all of a sudden? Guys, there's a connection between the actions of leaders like Dan Andrews and the eventual corrosion of trust and confidence and respect for our institutions of justice and law and order. Your petty bureaucrat, petty offences to human decency, those day-to-day things, the excessively high traffic offence fines, the cameras everywhere intruding into our personal spaces, that all adds up. And when the kettle finally boils over, you can't say, oh, what's happening? You were holding the flame to that kettle for years on end. That's what's happening, and it just boiled. Last year, the host of the Trigonometry podcast and popular comedian and social commentator in the UK, Constantine Kisson, sat down in Australia for an interview with our former Deputy Prime Minister John Anderson on his podcast. And this bit stood out to me as quite disturbing.
In Russia last year, 400 people were arrested for things that they said on social media. 400 people in Russia. Obviously, this country is very different. How many people do you think were arrested in Britain for things they said on social media last year?
Go on.
Take a guess.
I've no idea.
3,300.
Really? Arrested for what they'd said on social media?
Yeah.
Really? What sort of things get you
Well,
arrested?
one example I give in my show is there was a young woman from Liverpool called Chelsea Russell, and people can look this up. Her friend was killed in a car crash, a 19-year-old woman, and she posted the lyrics of his favorite song on her Instagram, the lyrics. And there was a rap song, so the lyrics contained several instances of the N-word. Okay? She was arrested, prosecuted, found guilty, given 500 hours of community service and a fine, tagged, and for a year she was under 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. curfew.
My goodness.
In Britain.
In Britain.
In 2018.
So we talk about the Chinese system of social credits.
Right.
And describe it as the creation of, or the emerging of a digital prison. But we're doing it to ourselves voluntarily in the West, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean,
so we'll cancel people socially if they say the wrong thing on social media. But you're telling me now that 3,500 people were visited by the police.
No, far more were visited by the police. Far more. There are cases just half a year ago, and I defended Jo Brand, a British comedian, over this. She made some comments, which, you know, it wasn't a great joke, but she talked about this during this milkshaking episodes where people were having milkshakes thrown at them. She said that, well, if I was doing it, I'd throw some acid over them, right? That's not a great joke, but she got a visit from the police on the basis that she was, quote, inciting violence. And they eventually decided not to proceed with prosecution. But it was obviously a joke. She's a comedian. She was on a comedy program. The context is very clear.
Yeah, the context may be clear to normal people with common sense, but not to the modern woke lunatics in the British Office of Public Prosecutions or the clowns in gowns on the bench, it would seem. These are strange and dangerous times indeed. So we have some questions to ask ourselves, folks. Just how much of our civil liberty are we going to give up to accommodate those who think that the world of free speech needs to be policed by the state? Because the creep is starting to happen legally. Step by step, this will get worse and more instruction will be deemed, more and more intrusion will be deemed acceptable if we do not stand up and push back hard on this stuff. We must be vigilant while we can be and stand up and protest peacefully, because we don't want to see extremist violence like they're now having to deal with in the UK over here. Hope you enjoyed that clip. The Other Side is your weekly analysis of the media's best news and commentary without the woke, and we need your support. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on X at The Other Side on X. It's all totally free to do that, but we could always do with your financial support too. So if you'd like to make a donation, click the Super Thanks button on YouTube with a little $ and thanks on it right under the video frame below. Even a $2 donation will really help us. And if you're watching on YouTube, do check out the full episode that this clip came from right here.